To hundreds and millions of students around the world, the backpack is a symbol of education. And while the weight of backpacks and burden of primary education has decreased over the past century, the mental health issues within students have skyrocketed. Perhaps the school bag isn't the only bag everyone carries, but a backpack full of the comments and judgmental views of those around us, especially with the rise of social media. In this episode with Sam Demma, a global keynote speaker and best-selling author who is credited for this backpack analogy, we will explore his mission to empty one's backpack and aspire resilience in a time when it is most needed.
Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Demma.
Imagine, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So for my first question for you is, considering you focus so much on your empty your backpack project so much throughout your schools, could you please elaborate what those mean in the first place?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing we can do to ensure that we have impactful, successful, fulfilling, and happy futures is to identify the beliefs we're carrying throughout life. I think that the beliefs we carry around about ourselves and what's possible create our mental map of the world. And it's like putting on a pair of glasses. You know, you put on a different pair of glasses, you see everything differently. And because I believe that our beliefs are so important, I wanted to build a program that helped young people realize this, that they all have giant backpacks on their shoulders filled with beliefs they're carrying around. And so I built the project to empower young people to understand the importance of their thoughts and to hopefully encourage them and equip them with some tools to help them let go of some of the negative thoughts they might be carrying around, to change their worldview, to change their view of themselves so they can be who they truly are and pursue the things they're passionate about. And so the project includes my giant red backpack, which I call the backpack of beliefs, which serves as an analogy for that whole idea. There's a spoken word poem called Empty Your Backpack, and there's also a book titled Empty Your Backpack, which all come together in a 60-minute performance that I deliver in schools across the country.
And how do you think this represents the invisible burdens that we carry as teenagers in the context of just mental health as a whole?
Yeah, I think if people understood how many challenges everybody else was carrying around, the world would be a lot more empathetic. People would be a lot more kind to their peers. And so the backpack represents what it would actually physically look like if we could see everybody else's circumstances, if we could understand the challenges that everybody else was carrying around. And I think that's why it's such a powerful visual. You know, our minds are filled with thousands of thoughts, and the backpack is massive and it's a representation of what 1,000 thoughts might look like if they were physical objects being carried on someone's shoulders. I think the backpack is also a great representation and metaphor because students all carry backpacks on their shoulders already. And my hope is that after the presentation's done, when they're looking at their peers, they're not only seeing the physical human being in front of them, but they're then imagining a giant backpack strapped to their shoulders, just as a reminder that their actions matter and have an impact not only on themselves and the people around them. I think relating to mental health, our backpacks are not only filled with challenges, they're also filled with hope and positivity and kind actions that people give to us. And so just, reminding students that your backpack can be really full, but just make sure it's filled with the good stuff, not the negative stuff that weighs you down.
And how do you think students can essentially lighten their backpacks and let go of this burden?
I think the best way to empty your backpack is to put yourself in an experience, a new experience that challenges some of the beliefs you're carrying around. So if one of your beliefs is, I'm not a good student, I'm not smart, put yourself in a position where you succeed and challenge that belief that you're not a smart student. If you're carrying around a belief that you're not a good athlete, put yourself in a position where you can prove that belief wrong. I think shouting affirmations is not enough. We have to put ourselves in positions that challenge the beliefs we're carrying. Secondly, I think we empty our backpacks by sharing and talking about what we're actually carrying. Because our backpacks are invisible, nobody knows when we're struggling or going through a difficult situation. So walking into the office and having a conversation with a guidance counselor or talking to a trusted, caring adult about what we're carrying will help us put those objects on the table and hopefully keep them from being placed back in our backpacks in the future. So I would say, firstly, put yourself in new positions where you can feel successful, where you can challenge your pre-existing beliefs. And secondly, talk about your challenges and struggles and circumstances with trusted, caring adults in your life who can help you navigate those situations.
So throughout your presentations across the country, you talk essentially just about the backpack, which also emphasizes the topic of resilience in high school students. So how do you think high school students could essentially build up that resilience in the terms of different challenges throughout their lives, many setbacks they may experience, and just the many negative comments that may be like thrown at them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think resilience is a necessary skill moving forward in life during high school and even after you graduate, because there are always going to be difficult situations. I think one of the best ways to teach resilience is to show young people an example of somebody who went through a difficult situation themselves and came out happy and successful on the other side of that adversity. The way that I touch on resilience is by sharing my own experiences going through some difficult situations when I was in high school, losing a full ride soccer scholarship to 3 major knee injuries. And the part of the story that I think provides students with the most amount of hope is that on the other side of my adversity, I discovered the work that I'm doing today, which now brings me 10 times more fulfillment than sports and soccer ever did. So just to remind young people that the storm passes and that they can't control the circumstances of the world or any external circumstance, but they can control the choice to continue showing up each day and striving to get back on their feet. So I think, one, we should recognize that resilience is necessary in all aspects of life. Two, when we're feeling beat down, let's search for examples of people who have been through similar situations and have come out successful on the other side to give us an example and hope. And three, don't focus on the things that we can't change, but focus on the things that we can control, like the choices we're choosing to make while we go through a difficult situation, and also the beliefs we're carrying in our backpacks. And if in specific related to the words of other people, I just want to give some encouragement. If someone is saying something to you that is negatively affecting the way you see yourself, I just want to remind you that is more a reflection of their own hurt and their own challenges and turmoil internally than it is a reflection of you. So try your best not to carry the words of others. I know it's difficult in the moment, but remind yourself that in a few years, you won't be at this school anymore, and you won't have to be around the people that maybe are putting you down. But most importantly, recognize that it's a signal that that person is struggling way more than it is a symbol of something wrong with you.
So that necessarily brings me to my next point, in which that high school can, of course, to many people, be an intense amount of peer pressure on them.
Yeah.
So how do you encourage the students whom you talk to throughout the entire country to stay true to themselves and not succumb to the amount of judgment expectations that are made from them and made from others as well?
Yeah. So this is difficult. It's a lot easier said than done. I would say start by writing out the things that you value on a piece of paper, the person that you want to be. And before you make a choice, ask yourself, the values that I've written down and the vision I have for my future, will I move closer to that vision by taking this action, or will I move further away? And if the answer is you're not going to move closer, you're going to move further away, or it's going to have a negative impact on you, I would ask myself, why are the people around me encouraging me to do this? In fact, I would even share that vision with the people in my life, my closest friends. This is who I want to be. And this action, I don't think it's going to move me closer, so I'm not going to do it. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. So after you create that vision for your future, you write down some of your values, I would then make sure that the people you surround yourself with are people who don't peer pressure you to do the opposite. And that may include removing some people from your life that are just not supportive or seem like your friends, but they don't have your best interests in their hearts. I would also say you don't have to go to the nth extreme. It is okay to say no to things and politely refuse to participate in certain activities. Some of your friends may seem disappointed, but they're not going to remember that moment in a few weeks or a few years. So I would say to deal with peer pressure, get very clear on who you are. It's a lot harder for someone to convince you to take a choice that's not aligned with who you want to be when you know who you want to be. So get clear on that first, and then surround yourself with people who encourage you to become that version of yourself and push you in a positive way.
Hmm. So it's also noted that around the globe, students experience a lot of mental health problems, especially when faced under academic stress or social pressures. So how do you want to provide helpful tips and helpful strategies to these students to maintain their mental well-being and also have a positive mindset throughout life?
I would say by firstly shifting a belief that we carry around regarding academics. I think right now we carry this belief that if we're not successful in the classroom, then it means we're a failure as a human being. That if somehow we don't get a certain percentage on our exams or on our final report cards, then it means we're not going to be successful in life. And that is totally false. There are too many examples of individuals who struggled in school but contributed in a massive way in the larger world. So understand that your academics are simply that. Your academics, but they don't define your self-worth as a human being. I would then say, if there are areas in your life where you are struggling and you desire to do better, ask yourself, what choices can I make to improve these aspects of my life? For me, chemistry was a very difficult subject when I was in high school. And so I would routinely stay after class and ask my teacher additional questions. So make sure you're doing everything you can to improve, but understand even if you try your best and it doesn't work out, it doesn't change your self worth as a human. Other things that I encourage students to do to deal with the anxiety and social pressures of school and growing up is to get lost in the service of others. It is really hard to be overwhelmed and stressed when you're helping another human being. So spend some time volunteering each week. Do your best to make other people feel special, loved, and appreciated and included, and you'll find that it'll lift your spirits as well. And so I think I would start with that, shifting our beliefs around what it actually means to succeed academically and how it's not linked to our success or self-worth as human beings. And then secondly, encouraging students to support each other.
Hmm. Now, throughout all of your presentations, throughout the many schools you've been to, you've often talked about the importance of building this support system. How do you think students can go about creating this strong support network? And why would this be crucial towards their mental health as a whole?
There are numerous examples in my life where I couldn't help myself. I needed other people to help me. And it's true not only in school, but for the rest of our lives. It is so important that we build support networks, at least having one other individual who we can call when things go sideways or when we're questioning our self-worth and our backpacks feel too heavy to carry alone. I think the easiest way to do this is to identify 1 to 3 people in your school who have similar visions like yourself, who are positive role models, who have your best interests in their hearts, and just reach out to them and say, hey, I would love to hold each other accountable to our academic success, to our future goals. Let's create a safe space, create a group chat. And every time something goes sideways, you just check in with each other, or maybe you have a weekly conversation. Sometimes it could be a little bit, it could cause a little bit of anxiety to reach out and ask for help. But I've only ever received support and guidance when I needed it, when I put my pride aside and I asked somebody to support me. And so I would say reach out to individuals. And if it feels like you don't have someone in your immediate school that you would want to create this sort of relationship with, look for people externally in your community. Maybe it's on a sporting team or through a hobby that you engage in outside of school hours. Or maybe it's even having this conversation with an adult, whether it's a guidance counselor or a teacher. I just think it's important that you build a few relationships so that when things do go, not sideways, but when things get challenging, you have support systems in place.
Well, now that we've gone about mental health, there's also the extreme factor of social media,
Right.
which is where students are exposed to a constant stream of opinions and comparisons and many things like that. How do you think students should address the impact of digital interactions on mental health? And what advice would you give to the many students that are navigating this large online world?
I would start by encouraging people to curate their social experience. Meaning, if there is content popping up on your feed that's causing you anxiety, that is giving you is creating a negative impact in your life, unfollow those pages and block those people. It is not as simple as a click of a button in real life when someone is speaking in front of you to get them to stop, but it is that simple on our devices. Curate your social experience so when you look at it, you're inspired, you're motivated and informed, not put down and feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Secondly, I would encourage young people to use their voices. If there is something or someone that is putting you down online, to let that person know that it's not okay, and that they're going to remove them from their page. Sometimes it's difficult to use our voice. We're a little nervous or afraid, but I think it's important that we do so when we're in uncomfortable situations, so the other party knows how we're feeling. Comparison is another big issue of social media. It happens to me. It happens to everybody. We compare ourselves to the people we see online. And the challenge is that everyone's posting their highlight reels. They're posting the most successful moments, the most happy moments, but they're not sharing their failures. So when you do go on social media, just remind yourself of that the people you're comparing your life to are not sharing the whole picture. And that should give you some peace of mind when you feel like you're struggling and it seems like everyone else's life is perfect. And then finally, I'll share this. Take breaks, you know, take weeks at a time or even a month at a time where you don't go on social media. I've done this many times and it's helped me with my mental health a lot. Social media is meant to be a tool. And if you feel like it's not serving you in that capacity, cut it off, take a break and see if your mental health improves.
Okay. I've done that before as well, and I would recommend it from myself as well. It's
Awesome.
very good for your mental health. Now, to my next point, in which we both know that failure and rejection are just inevitable parts of life. You're always going to have that failure or just this absolute blast of rejection towards you that you're just going to have to experience. So, how would you guide these students in reframing these experiences and using them as opportunities of growth and encouragement rather than sources of just disencouragement and um, madness towards them?
I'll start by giving a disclaimer. There are certain situations in life where rejection must be accepted, and those situations are pretty clear, and we all know what they are. Those relate to relationships and intimacy. If someone tells you they don't want to date you or dance with you, just accept that and move forward. But when it comes to our aspirations, our goals, our dreams, academically or professionally in the world, when someone rejects us, what I want to encourage young people to realize is they're not rejecting you as a human being. They are saying no because maybe you lack an experience or a skill set. And so whenever someone rejects you, they're actually giving you a hint that there is something you need, a lesson you need, a skill set that you need that you just don't currently have. And the beautiful thing is, if you see it as a learning experience, you can ask the person who rejected you, hey, what would I have needed? Who will I have needed to be? What skill set did I need to have for you to actually give me this opportunity? And most of the time, people will tell you, they'll say, hey, well, I needed you to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And this gives you a roadmap to gain those skills and then maybe actually get that position in the future. So I would say when it comes to your dreams and goals, academically, professionally, rejection is a stepping stone. It's a learning experience. It's a gift to move you closer to the person you want to be. So keep showing up. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's about a lack in your skill set or experience, which for good news, you can fill. But if rejection is related to relationships or an intimate experience, take it as a no and move forward.
So everyone knows that creating a safe space for open conversations from one person to another is crucial for mental health. So, how do you encourage students to speak up about their struggles? And what advice do you have for friends and peers in supporting one another?
I would recommend young people label the space before they start the conversation. You're sitting with two friends, you literally verbally say, I just want to make sure this is a safe space. I'm about to share something that I don't want shared with anybody else, and I trust both of you. Can I please share what's on my mind? And make sure you're sharing in a space with people that you know aren't going to, spread it around or talk to other people. And if you feel like you don't have friends like that, I would encourage young people to create that safe space with a guidance counselor or a teacher or a coach or a parent or a trusted adult, and do the exact same thing. Say, hey, there's something in my backpack that I've been carrying for a while. I want to share it with you. I just want to make sure this is a safe space where you're not going to go and tell everybody else, that this just stays between us. And I find that after you have a conversation like that 2 or 3 times with the same group of people, you start to build a real trust. And a beautiful thing happens in that space where everybody starts sharing and everyone's helping each other and connecting each other to support and sharing ideas. And so that's how I would recommend students create those spaces in their school communities, with either their peers or some of the teachers in the building.
So, in basically all of your talks, you mention and talk a lot about mindfulness. How do you think students can integrate mindfulness and self-care practices into their daily routines? And what benefits do you think they can expect from incorporating these different practices?
There are a few habits I've built in my life that have made a tremendous positive impact. These are by no means the only habits or the best habits. They are just the ones that have worked for me the best, speaking from my personal experience. And there are a few of them. I'll say there's 4. The first one is drinking lots of water. And it sounds very simple, but I'd estimate that like 90% of the population on this globe walk around most of their day dehydrated. And it has a negative impact on you, not only your focus in school, but how you feel physically throughout the day. So drink lots of water. The second is eating healthy foods. Like, we become what we put in our body. So we can't expect to perform great, feel great physically or mentally if we're not eating healthy foods. So I'd say those first 2 habits are more related to our physical well-being than our mental well-being, although there's a massive connection between what we eat and how we feel. The third habit would be meditation and exercise. Carving out these moments of silence where we allow our thoughts to pass by helps us to realize that our thoughts aren't us, they are just our thoughts. And we don't have to associate with them. We can watch them fly by in our minds. The fourth thing is exercise, which I tied in there. I think there's a massive connection between movement and feeling good mentally. You don't have to lift weights. You don't have to go run marathons, but find a form of exercise that you can do each day for 20 to 30 minutes, and you'll notice that your mental health continues to improve. And I'll add a fifth one. The fifth one would be journaling. I think one of the best ways to empty our backpack is to take out a pen and a piece of paper and write down a lot of the things that we're thinking. Write down some of the challenges and successes to get it all out of our minds and out of our backpacks. So each night before going to sleep, we can put our head on the pillow with peace of mind and actually get some quality rest. So to recap, I would say drink lots of water, eat healthy food, meditate each day, exercise, and build a habit of journaling. And the benefits you will experience will be massive. And if you continue those habits, it will continue for the rest of your life.
Yeah, based off of personal experience, I could definitely support all of these points. They have helped me personally mind myself and build myself more up. And I recommend that everyone else watching this as well also focuses on these habits.
Awesome.
So to end off, I would like to bring you one last thing, which is high school can be very overwhelming with different academic pressures and many different social demands. How would you guide students into setting healthy boundaries between themselves to avoid burnout and make sure they prioritize their mental well-being?
I would say to firstly remember it's okay to say no. This is something that I struggled with when I was a student. I said yes to everything, every opportunity, every person who asked for help, every extracurricular experience. It's okay to pause when someone asks you to do something and say, I'm going to think about this for 24 hours before I let you know. And then you can think, do I want to do this? Do I have the capacity to do this? Am I the best person to do this? And just saying no a little bit more will help you gain back the time you need to take care of yourself physically and mentally. Secondly, I would remind students that the purpose of life is not to just finish school. The purpose of life is to become the best version of yourself and then to share that person with the world. And so, yes, right now, your life completely revolves around education, but don't let that stop you from having fun and enjoying the journey. There is more to life than just receiving your report card and doing well in school. And you don't have to wait until you graduate to start realizing that and experiencing it. So be as present as you can. Try as many new things as you can, with, of course, with healthy boundaries, in the hope that you'll find some things that you love doing. And then third, I would say, be clear in your communication to others. Let people know how you're feeling. Reach out when you need support. Communicating is so important, and it'll help us ensure we have a great experience, not only in school, but also in life. Those are some ideas that I would share with students just to get the most out of school and to take care of themselves. And I hope that you listening enjoyed this podcast interview.
Yeah, thank you. Also, this also doesn't affect everyone, but it also affected me. I feel like this one-to-one interview with you has also helped me just give more suggestions towards myself as well. So thank you, most of all.
Oh, you're
And I
very
hope this
welcome. And thank
also
you so much
encourages
for
the viewers of all people.